The living room was unusually peaceful that Sunday afternoon. Soft sunlight filtered through the curtains, warming the old beige couch where Max, the family's 13-year-old golden retriever, usually napped without a care in the world. But today was different. Instead of sleeping, Max stood alert, his gray-muzzled face lowered, guarding one of the throw pillows as if it were something fragile and precious. First, Laura barely paid attention. She assumed Max was simply looking for a comfortable spot, as senior dogs often did. But then she noticed it, the trembling in his hind legs, not from age but from worry. Max placed one paw firmly on the pillow whenever anyone tried to move it, nudging them away with a soft, uneasy whine. His cloudy eyes kept shifting between the pillow and the family, as though he was begging them to understand something he couldn't put into words. "Max, what's wrong, boy?" Laura whispered, her voice tightening with concern. He didn't leave the pillow. Not even when Laura called him for his favorite treat. Not even when her husband tried to lift him gently. Max only pressed his nose against the pillow, breathing slow and heavy, guarding it like a secret. A strange mix of warmth and tension filled the room. Warmth because Max was such a gentle soul. Tension because this wasn't like him at all. His instincts rarely failed. And today, his instincts were clearly telling him something. Laura knelt beside him, placing her hand on his back. "Max, what are you trying to show us?" Moments later, everything changed. Before we continue, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more heart-touching dog stories. And tell me, where are you watching from? The house felt unusually quiet that Sunday. Soft light drifted through the curtains, the kind of light that warms a room without anyone noticing. Dust floated gently in the sunbeams. The faint hum of the refrigerator filled the background. And the old beige couch sat in its usual place, worn, familiar, comforting. Max lay nearby on the rug. 13 years old. Slower now. A little stiff in the mornings. But still the same gentle golden soul the family had loved since he was a puppy. Laura moved through the living room with folded laundry in her arms. Her footsteps were soft on the carpet. She was relaxed, content, enjoying the rare stillness of a weekend with nothing urgent to worry about. She didn't notice Max at first. Not until he lifted his head. Not until he stared toward the couch with a strange alertness she hadn't seen in years. Laura turned and paused. As Max wasn't just looking. He was focused. Fixed. Staring directly at one of the throw pillows on the couch, the faded blue one with little stitched leaves across the fabric. "Max," Laura said gently. Her voice was calm, curious, not yet worried. The old dog pushed himself up, slow, careful joints clicking softly. He walked to the couch and placed one paw on the pillow, as if guarding it, as if it mattered. Laura tilted her head, giving a small amused smile at first. "Buddy, you okay there?" Max didn't look at her. He just kept his paw on the pillow. Firm, steady, intentional. Laura set the laundry basket down. She watched him for a moment, waiting. But Max didn't move. Didn't break focus. Didn't give any sign that he was doing this by accident. A soft exhale left her chest. She stepped closer. "Hey, sweet boy, what's that about?" Max shifted his weight, not aggressively, just protectively. The kind of posture dogs use when they know something is important, even when humans don't understand why. His ears moved slightly forward. His tail laid low, not wagging but not fearful either. Just alert. A quiet alert. Laura reached out to touch the pillow. Max lowered his head suddenly and placed it across the corner, blocking her hand. She froze. Okay, she whispered. Not frightened, just surprised. Max wasn't a dog who guarded things. He never growled. Never claimed space. Never acted territorial, not even with toys or food. This was different. Gentle. Soft. But absolutely deliberate. She pulled her hand back slowly. Max relaxed only when she stopped reaching. Laura knelt beside him. Her knees touched the carpet. Her face softened with concern. "Max, what's going on, sweetheart?" The old dog gave a small, trembling breath. Barely audible. Barely visible. But she saw it. His chest lifted then fell with a quiet shiver. Not fear. Not pain. Something else. Something she couldn't name yet. He pressed his nose to the pillow, a long slow inhale, as if confirming something. As if checking. As if making sure. Laura glanced around the room trying to understand. There was nothing unusual. Nothing broken. Nothing spilled. Nothing out of place. Just a dog. Pillow. And a strange growing tension filling the air like a soft, invisible weight. She placed a hand gently on his back. He didn't look at her. But his breathing eased under her touch. For a moment they stayed like that. Still. Quiet. Connected. Then Laura tried again carefully to slide the pillow aside. Max immediately shifted, covering it with his body, lowering his chest against it. Laura pulled back again. Okay, she whispered. That wasn't nothing. She stood slowly, keeping her eyes on him. Max's tail gave a tiny, uncertain thump. Just once. As if saying he knew she was trying to understand. As if thanking her for being patient. Laura stepped into the hallway. Michael? She called softly to her husband. He appeared a moment later, wiping his hands with a dish towel. What's wrong? She nodded toward the living room. Look. They both watched Max, now fully settled over the pillow, chin resting protectively across the top seam, eyes open and alert. Michael frowned. That's new, he said quietly. Yeah, Laura murmured. He won't let me near it. Michael approached slowly. He crouched, making sure Max could see him. Hey buddy, what's that? Huh. He reached out. Max didn't growl. Didn't snap. Didn't even bark. He just shifted, blocking the pillow again, then looked up at Michael with a soft, urgent whine. A sound filled with meaning. A sound that said, please understand. A sound that said, not this. Not yet. Michael pulled back instantly. All right, he whispered. Okay. We won't move it. Laura sat on the edge of the ottoman. Her heart tightened, not with fear but with a deep warm concern. Because Max had never done anything like this. Not in 13 years. Not once. And dogs, especially senior dogs, don't waste energy on things that don't matter. Laura watched him. Max stayed perfectly still. Perfectly focused. Perfectly certain. Something inside him was telling him to guard that pillow. Something instinctive. Something gentle. Something important. The room felt heavier now. Quieter. More aware. Laura whispered into the stillness. Max, what are you trying to show us? Max lifted his head slightly. Listen. Waited. And the air around them shifted, almost imperceptibly, like the story had just begun. The afternoon light shifted slowly across the living room floor. Shadows moved. The house stayed quiet. And Max didn't lift his head from the pillow, not even for a second. Laura watched him from the ottoman. Her hands folded loosely in her lap. Every few moments she inhaled softly. Trying not to worry, trying to understand. Michael stood beside her. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Max's breathing was steady now. Slow. Deep. Focused. He looked calm on the outside. But the tension in his posture, the way his shoulder muscles stayed slightly raised, the way his back legs tucked carefully beneath him, told another story. This wasn't resting. This was guarding. Finally, Michael whispered. He's been there 20 minutes. Laura nodded. I know. Max shifted slightly, only enough to keep the pillow beneath his chest. His nose brushed the fabric, and he took another slow inhale through his nostrils. The movement was so subtle, but Laura felt it in her chest like a quiet alarm. Not loud, just real. She stood up and walked around the couch, approaching from the other side to see whether something visible might be tucked behind or beside the pillow. Nothing. Just the soft blue fabric. The seat cushion. The shape of the pillow pressing lightly into the couch. She leaned forward, careful not to disturb Max. He watched her. Eyes steady. Not panicked. Not pleading. Just purposeful. When she stepped closer, his tail lowered slightly. Not tucked under. just lowered enough to show he was uncomfortable with her approach. Laura stopped in her tracks. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, sweetheart. I won't touch it." Max blinked slowly. A soft exhale left his chest. Not quite relief, but something close. Michael walked into the kitchen, grabbed a small bag of Max's favorite treats, and shook it gently. A familiar sound. One that usually brought Max running even in his old age. Today nothing. Max didn't move. Didn't flick an ear. Didn't shift his weight. He kept his chest over the pillow. His head rested low. His eyes half open. "Guarding," Laura whispered. "Michael." He didn't even react. Michael stopped shaking the bag. "That's not like him." "No," she said softly. "It's not." He knelt near Max, keeping a respectful distance, and extended a treat in his hand. "Come on, buddy. Just one. It's your favorite." Max looked at him, not at the treat. A long, heavy look. Then he lowered his gaze back to the pillow and pressed his nose gently against the top seam as if reassuring himself. Laura watched every move. She felt her heartbeat slow, then tighten, then slow again. Something was wrong. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a dangerous way. Just wrong enough to matter. Michael placed the treat on the rug beside Max, hoping he'd reach for it. Max didn't. He didn't even glance at it. Instead, he pushed his paw tighter into the pillow's edge. A small movement, but enough to send another quiet ripple of tension through the room. Laura stepped closer again, a few feet away, careful not to crowd him. "Max," she murmured. "You can come here if you want. You don't have to stay there." But he stayed. He stayed like the pillow was holding something fragile. Something he couldn't leave alone. Her voice softened further, almost to a whisper. "What are you protecting?" Max's ears twitched at her tone. Not the words, the tone. He lifted his head slightly, then lowered it again with a soft, almost sorrowful sigh. Laura pressed her fingers against her lips. The dog she had trusted for 13 years, the dog who always understood when someone in the house was sad or tired or hurting, was now the one showing emotion she didn't understand. Michael tried again, his voice calm. "Max, can we see what's under there? Just for a second." Max moved instantly, gently but firmly, repositioning himself so the pillow was tucked completely beneath his chest. He didn't growl. He didn't make a sound. But the message was clear. "Not yet. Please, not yet." Michael sat back on his heels. "Okay," he breathed. "Okay, buddy. I hear you." The clock in the hallway ticked softly. Laura's eyes moved slowly over Max's body language, something she'd learned to read like a second language over the years. His ears were slightly forward, his breathing even. No signs of distress, just determination. A quiet, steady determination. "Do you think he senses something?" she asked in a low voice. Michael looked at her. "Like what?" "I don't know." She swallowed gently. "But Max has always been intuitive. You know that." He nodded slowly. They fell silent again, listening to Max breathe, watching him watch the pillow. The air felt heavier now, like the room itself understood something they didn't. Michael finally stood and stretched his back, trying to ease the stiffness from kneeling. "I'm going to check the other pillows," he said. He lifted one from the opposite end of the couch. Max didn't react. He lifted another. No reaction. When Michael set a third pillow aside, Max shifted. Not toward him, but closer to the blue pillow, covering even more of it with his body. Laura stepped forward and whispered, "That's the one. It's only that one." Max's head lifted again, just a couple inches. He listened. He waited. Then he laid his chin back down. Laura felt it again, the warm, quiet tension in her chest. The feeling that something unseen had started shifting. Something small but significant. She sat on the ottoman again and whispered into the stillness. "Max, we're listening. We'll figure it out. Just show us when you're ready." Max blinked once. He didn't move. But something in his stillness felt like an answer. Soft, steady, patient. And the family began to realize This wasn't a moment. This was the first sign. The beginning of something Max had sensed long before they did. Laura moved quietly through the living room, her steps soft on the carpet, careful not to disturb the stillness Max had created around himself. The old golden retriever hadn't moved in almost an hour. Not from hunger. Not from thirst. Not even from the sound of the back door opening when their daughter, Emily, came home from her afternoon walk. He stayed pressed against the pillow, calm but unwavering. Emily set her bag down and walked into the room, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Why's Max just sitting there like that?" she asked. Laura exhaled gently. "We're not sure. He started guarding the pillow earlier. Won't let us touch it." Emily blinked in confusion. "The pillow?" "Yes," Laura whispered. "Just this one." Emily approached slowly, stopping a few feet away. Max glanced at her, his expression soft but serious. She crouched down. "Hey, buddy." Max's tail gave a faint thump, one single beat against the rug. But he didn't move. Didn't shift away or greet her the way he usually did. "He looks worried," Emily said. Laura nodded. "Yeah, he does." Emily studied him for a moment, her brows pulling together. "Do you think he's hurting?" she asked. "Like, maybe he's trying to get comfortable and that pillow is helping him?" Laura had already thought of that. Maybe, but he's never done this before. Emily leaned a little closer. Not enough to threaten Max's space, just close enough to see his expression clearly. Max lowered his head further over the pillow, his chin pressing into the fabric. Emily whispered, "He's protecting it." Laura sighed. "I know." Michael came back from the kitchen with a small bowl of water. He set it near Max. "Let's see if he'll drink." Max looked at the bowl, held the gaze for a few seconds, then quietly returned his attention to the pillow. "Not a single lap of water." Emily whispered, "That's not like him." Michael nodded. "Not at all." Laura knelt beside Max again, watching the soft rise and fall of his chest. His breathing wasn't labored, but there was something in the way he kept inhaling through his nose. Slow, steady, almost investigative. Her mind raced gently through possibilities. Pain, anxiety, confusion from age. She ran a soft finger behind his ear, feeling the warmth of his fur. "Max, sweetheart, talk to me." He leaned slightly into her touch. A tiny shift, but didn't let the pillow out from beneath him. She pulled her hand back and stood again. Emily watched her with quiet concern. "Mom, what if he's having one of those senior moments? Like the disorientation stuff the vet talked about?" Laura bit her lip. "It could be, but this feels too intentional." Emily nodded slowly, eyes drifting back to Max. Michael sat beside them on the ottoman. His voice stayed low, calm, measured. Dogs don't guard pillows for no reason. Laura crossed her arms gently, hugging her elbows. "Exactly." For a moment no one spoke. The house felt heavier, like everyone was waiting for something to reveal itself. Max shifted just slightly, enough to adjust his weight. His paws curled protectively around the corners of the pillow. His nose pressed into the fabric again. Emily whispered, Maybe there's a smell? Something we can't detect." Laura exchanged a glance with Michael. "That's possible," she murmured. Michael leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Or maybe something stuck inside it," he suggested. "A toy? A treat? Something he hid." Laura gave him a soft look. "He hasn't hidden anything in years, Michael." He sighed. "I know, just trying to think." Emily's voice was even quieter now. Could it be a memory thing? Like maybe the pillow reminds him of something? Dogs can associate scents with people. Max's ears twitched slightly at the sound of their voices. But he didn't move. Laura crouched again and studied his posture carefully. His body wasn't tense, just anchored, rooted. A soft protectiveness radiated off him. Not frantic, not obsessive, just sure. Her chest tightened with emotion. She whispered, "I wish you could tell me, Max." He blinked. Slow, gentle. as if he understood every word even if he couldn't respond. Michael stood. I'm going to grab his blanket. Maybe he'll move on his own if we make a resting spot beside him. Laura nodded. It's worth a try. He returned with the blanket and laid it a foot away from Max. The old dog didn't budge. Laura crouched again and held out her hand. You can rest here, sweetheart. It's okay. Max lifted his head. A tiny movement. He looked at her hand, then at the pillow, then back at her hand. For a moment, Laura thought he might shift, might slide off the pillow, might finally give them a clue. But he only settled deeper into place, chin resting again with a soft thud of acceptance. Laura whispered almost to herself. He's not confused. He knows exactly what he's doing. Emily sat beside her mother. Then what is it? Laura shook her head gently. I don't know, but something's telling him to stay right there. They watched Max breathe. Soft, slow, steady. Every inhale felt purposeful. Every exhale calm. Emily whispered, he's waiting. Laura met her daughter's eyes. For what? Emily swallowed softly. For us to understand. A hush settled across the room. A thick, warm stillness. Max didn't move. Didn't break focus. Didn't let the pillow out of his care. And the family, still uncertain, still searching, ended the hour believing they were watching instinct, when in truth they were watching a message. One they hadn't yet learned how to read. Evening settled slowly across the house. The warm afternoon light faded into soft amber tones, then dimmed into the quiet gray of early dusk. Lamps clicked on one by one. Shadows stretched longer across the carpet. And Max still hadn't moved. 3 hours now. 3 long, quiet hours of gentle breathing, soft alertness, and unwavering focus on the pillow beneath him. Laura stood by the kitchen doorway, arms folded, watching her old friend with a growing ache in her chest. Michael leaned against the counter beside her. Emily sat cross-legged on the floor near the couch, close but not too close. None of them wanted to break the moment. None of them wanted to force him. But the tension, warm, gentle but unmistakable, kept building in the room like a slow, steady heartbeat. Emily whispered, Mom, his ears haven't relaxed once. Laura nodded. I know. Max's ears stayed slightly forward. Not pinned back, not raised high, just focused. His tail remained low, resting softly against the rug. His muscles stayed steady. Not stiff, not trembling, simply ready. Ready for what none of them knew. Laura finally stepped closer. Max, she said softly. You've been here a long time, sweetheart. Do you want to get up for a bit? Take a break. Max lifted his head. He looked at her with eyes that felt deeper than usual, older, wiser. Eyes that carried something she couldn't read. He didn't move off the pillow. He didn't shift his weight. He just watched her. Laura crouched down again, her knees pressing into the carpet. She whispered, We're trying to understand, Max. Show us if you can. Max responded by nudging the pillow with his nose. One slow, purposeful push. Then he settled again, chin resting on the top edge. Emily leaned forward. He did that earlier too, she said. It's like he's checking it. Michael joined them, kneeling on the floor, keeping his voice calm and even. Max, do you want us to see something? Max's ears flicked. Just once. His eyes darted toward Michael's hand, then back to the pillow. He pressed his paw against the far corner, covering it almost entirely. Laura's breath caught. She whispered, He doesn't want us touching it, but he keeps smelling it. Michael nodded slowly. So there's something with the pillow. Not inside it. Emily frowned. A scent? Something he recognizes. Laura hesitated. Or something he senses that we can't. The room grew still again. Max shifted, the first meaningful movement in hours. He stood up slowly, joints stiff but willing, lifting his body just enough to reposition the pillow with his nose. He nudged it. Once. Twice. A third time. Small nudges. Soft ones. But deliberate. He pushed it into a new position, aligning it with the center of the couch, then lowered himself back onto it, covering it fully. Emily whispered, "That looked intentional." Laura nodded. "It did." Max laid still again, but now his breathing sounded deeper, more focused. Laura felt a slow tension rise inside her. She stepped closer and whispered, "Max, is something wrong with the couch?" Max's ears twitched sharply. Not fear, not pain, recognition. Laura froze. Michael noticed. That was a reaction. Emily leaned in slightly. "Max, what are you trying to tell us?" Max pressed his nose into the pillow again, breathing deeply in. Then he paused. Head lifted. Listening. Waiting. The family held still. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the air felt like it was holding its breath. Max slowly stood again, slower this time, and placed both paws firmly on the pillow's surface. He stared at it. Not sniffing. Not guarding. Staring. Laura whispered, "Something's under there." Emily's voice was barely a breath. "Mom, what if it's not the pillow? What if he's sensing heat? Or movement? Something inside the couch?" Michael exhaled. "That's possible." Max circled the pillow, only half a step, and returned to the exact same spot, lowering himself with care. Laura saw it then. His posture wasn't tense. It was protective. Soft. Patient. Intentional. It wasn't fear driving him. It was instinct. Deep instinct. She whispered, "He's not scared of what's under there. He's protecting it." Michael turned toward her slowly. What would he need to protect? A silence fell, heavy, warm, searching. Max breathed out a long, slow exhale, and for the first time since the afternoon began, he rested his head sideways on the pillow, eyes half closed. Still guarding, but calmer now, like he trusted the family enough to relax just a little. Laura reached out again, her hand hovering above his back. "Max," she murmured, "if you want us to see, give us a sign." Max didn't move, but his tail tapped once. Just once. A soft, steady heartbeat against the rug. Emily whispered, "He understands you." Laura swallowed, her voice tightening. "I know." Max slowly lifted his head again, ears tilting slightly forward, the way they did when he sensed someone approaching the front yard, or when he felt something change in the house. He stared at the pillow, then at the couch, then at Laura, and in that quiet exchange, that slow, intentional look, something inside her shifted. A realization, a feeling, a certainty she couldn't explain. She whispered, "There's something here, and Max has known all day." Max lowered his head again. Listened. Waited. And outside, the last light of dusk faded from the windows, leaving the family in a warm, dim room filled with rising tension, and the sense that something was about to finally reveal itself. The rain had slowed, but the town still carried that soft, washed-over quiet that follows a long storm. Farhan stood beside the patrol SUV, hands resting on the open door, breathing in the damp air. Rex sat at his heel, posture steady, ears tilted forward. The forest waited in front of them, deep dark still. Farhan checked his radio, then exhaled slowly. "All right, buddy," he whispered. "Let's finish what we started." Rex lifted his head. A gentle blink. A small breath through his nose. Almost a nod. They stepped into the trail. The path was narrow. Wet leaves clung to their boots. Distant droplets fell through the branches like scattered taps on a drum. Rex walked ahead. Not pulling, not rushing, just guiding. His tail stayed level. Calm. Focused. Every few steps he paused. Sniffed. Listened. Then moved again. Farhan followed silently, giving the dog space to work. This was the part he trusted most, the quiet instinctive connection between them. They had trained for search work. But today, this felt different. Rex wasn't tracking a scent for a medal or a certification. He was searching for someone who needed help. Farhan noticed it in the dog's body language. The steady rhythm. The lowered head. The gentle certainty. A soft wind pushed through the trees. Rex stopped. He lifted his nose. took in the air, then walked left off the main trail. Farhan hesitated. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. Rex didn't look back. He simply waited. Farhan stepped after him. The forest floor dipped. The air grew cooler. A faint smell of pine and damp earth rose around them. Rex slowed down. He turned his head, scanning the slope. His ears flicked toward a cluster of fallen logs. Farhan's heart began to tighten. "Rex, you see something?" The dog didn't bark, didn't lunge. He simply walked forward, slowly, carefully, as if he understood the weight of the moment. Farhan followed, his flashlight cutting a pale line through the shadows. Rex came to a stop. His tail lowered. His posture softened. He leaned his head slightly to the right, toward the pile of logs. Farhan crouched beside him. "What is it, boy?" Rex sniffed the air again. Short, focused breaths. He took one step closer. Then another. Farhan angled the flashlight. And he saw it. A small shoe, half buried in wet leaves. He felt the breath leave his body. "Oh God," he whispered. Rex lowered his head beside the shoe, nudging gently, delicate, cautious, almost tender. Farhan's voice grew tight. Good work, boy." He radioed in. "Dispatch, I've got something. We're at Sector 4, Lower Ridge. I need backup and medical on standby." Static. Then a voice. "Copy that, Unit 7. Team en route." Farhan kept the light steady. He scanned the ground. A few feet away, a small shape curled behind the logs. His chest tightened again. "Rex, stay close." The dog stepped forward, silent, steady. He didn't rush in. He moved with the soft caution of an animal approaching someone fragile. Farhan knelt beside the figure. A young boy, huddled, shivering faintly, clothes soaked, face pale, but breathing. Alive. Farhan swallowed. "Hey buddy," he whispered. "My name's Farhan. You're safe now. We're here." The boy stirred. Barely. Rex lay down beside him, slow, gentle, his body warmth radiating through the cold air. The child's small hand twitched and brushed against the dog's fur. Rex didn't move, didn't startle. He simply stayed there, still, warm, present. Farhan watched with a swelling in his chest. A moment passed. Soft, quiet, steady. The boy whispered something, voice thin like a breeze. "Cold." Farhan nodded. "I know. Help is on the way. Stay with us." He wrapped his jacket around the child. Rex shifted slightly, laying his head near the boy's shoulder, protective without trapping him, a barrier of calm. Farhan felt his eyes warm. He blinked them clear. "Good boy," he murmured. "So good." Sirens faintly echoed in the distance. Farhan kept his hand on the boy's back. The forest felt a little lighter now, a little warmer. Rex lifted his eyes for a moment and looked at Farhan. A simple look, but full of meaning. Farhan whispered, "You did it." Rex blinked once. Slow. Content. The rescue team emerged through the trees minutes later. Boots splashing on the wet ground, radios crackling with updates. Farhan guided them carefully. "He's cold but conscious. Vitals seem okay. We need to get him warmed up fast." The medics worked quickly, lifting the boy gently, wrapping him in blankets. Rex stood off to the side now, alert but calm, watching every move. As they carried the child toward the path, the boy reached out a weak hand. Not to Farhan, to Rex. The dog stepped forward, touched his nose softly against the child's fingers. A tiny moment. Quiet promise. Then the boy was lifted onto a stretcher. Farhan exhaled slowly, deeply, feeling the tension finally loosen from his shoulders. The forest seemed to breathe with him. He placed a hand on Rex's back. The dog leaned in slightly. A simple, steady comfort. "Let's go home, partner," Farhan whispered. Rex gave a small tail wag. Subtle, warm. And together they walked out of the woods. The ambulance pulled away with its siren off, moving quietly through the damp evening. Just steady lights. Just calm urgency. Farhan watched it disappear down the road. Rex sat beside him, still as stone, listening to the soft hum fade. The rescue was over. But the night wasn't finished with them yet. Farhan knelt down and rubbed Rex's chest gently. "You did everything right today," he whispered. "Everything." Rex closed his eyes for a brief moment, almost like he was absorbing the words. Then he lifted his head again, alert but peaceful. A few officers nearby packed up equipment. Others returned to their vehicles. Voices murmured softly through the dusk. But Farhan and Rex stood in a small pocket of silence. Just breathing. Just settling. The rain clouds drifted apart overhead, revealing thin streaks of silver moonlight. Farhan exhaled. "Let's check in at the hospital," he said softly. "Make sure the kid's okay." Rex rose immediately. Not excited. Not restless. Just ready. They climbed into the SUV and drove through the quiet streets. The tires whispered over wet asphalt. Streetlights cast long reflections on the roads. Buildings glowed with soft, late-night warmth. Farhan spoke gently as he drove, more to himself than anything. "You know, not every dog would have stayed that calm. You felt something out there. I don't know how, but you did." Rex blinked slowly, ears relaxed. Farhan smiled faintly. "Yeah, I felt it too." The hospital parking lot was nearly empty. Few cars. Dim lamps humming in the dark. Farhan clipped on Rex's leash, loose, comfortable, and they walked toward the entrance. Automatic doors slid open with a quiet hiss. Warm air. Quiet hallways. Soft overhead lights. Nurses moved with practiced calm, checking charts, guiding families, speaking in gentle tones meant for tired souls. Rex walked close to Farhan's leg, steps slow, eyes scanning without tension. They approached the reception. A middle-aged nurse looked up, surprised to see a police dog but instantly smiling. "Is this the hero everyone's been talking about?" she asked. Farhan gave a small, quiet smile. "He's just doing his job." The nurse leaned over the counter. "Well, he did a good one." Rex tilted his head slightly as if trying to understand the tone rather than the words. "Is the boy stable?" Farhan asked. "Yes," she said softly. "He's warming up, talking a little. Doctors are with him. His family is on the way." Farhan nodded. Relief washed through him like a slow, warm tide. "Can we see him?" "Just for a moment." The nurse glanced toward the hallway. "I think yes. He's awake enough. And honestly, seeing the dog might help." She guided them down the hallway. The floors gleamed under soft lights. Monitors beeped at a slow, steady pace behind half-closed doors. They stopped at a small room. The nurse knocked gently, opened the door. Inside, the boy lay on a bed wrapped in blankets. A doctor checked his vitals. Another stood by the monitor. The boy's eyes moved toward the doorway. When he saw Rex, a faint, weak smile pulled at his lips. Rex stepped inside slowly, almost a glide. Ears low, tail still. A calm presence. The doctor nodded. "It's all right. He can come in." Farhan loosened the leash so Rex could move freely. The dog approached the bed with soft, deliberate paws. He paused at the edge, waiting, asking with his posture. The boy lifted a trembling hand. Just inch by inch. Rex leaned forward, nose gently touching the boy's fingers. A long breath left the child, shaky but relieved. "You came back," the boy whispered. Farhan swallowed. "We never left you," he said softly. The monitors hummed in the background. The room felt warmer, more alive. Rex placed his chin on the edge of the mattress, careful, gentle, offering warmth without weight. The boy's eyes closed for a moment, and Farhan felt something shift inside him. A quiet, deep gratitude. A sense of purpose settling into place. The doctor stepped closer. "He'll recover," she said quietly. "Cold exposure, fear, dehydration, but he's strong. And your dog helped keep him calm enough to stay awake." Farhan placed a hand on Rex's back. "He's good at that." The doctor smiled. "I can see that." A few minutes later, Farhan stepped out of the room to speak with hospital staff. Rex stayed behind with the boy, not lying down, not fidgeting, just standing at the bedside like a small, gentle guardian. When Farhan returned, the boy was still awake, still touching Rex's fur with tiny, tired fingers. But now there was color in his cheeks, a little life returning. Farhan spoke softly to the boy. "Your parents will be here soon." The boy nodded. His eyes shifted toward Rex. "He found me," he whispered. I was so scared." Rex lifted his head and nuzzled the boy's hand. Farhan knelt beside them. "You're safe now. That's what matters." The boy blinked slow and heavy. "Thank you," he said. Farhan shook his head gently. "You don't have to thank us." He looked down at Rex. "He knew where you were before any of us did." The boy smiled, tiny, fragile, but real. When Rex and Farhan finally stepped out of the room, the hallway felt a little lighter. A nurse waved as they passed. "You two should get some rest," she said kindly. "You look like you've been through a whole week." Farhan chuckled softly. "Feels like it." They exited through the automatic doors. The night air greeted them, cool, calm, freshly washed. Farhan stood still for a moment. The parking lot glowed beneath the soft hospital lights. Rex brushed against his leg, warm and steady. Farhan placed a hand on the dog's neck. "You changed a life tonight," he whispered. Rex leaned into the touch. A gentle press. Soft. Present. Farhan breathed in, then out slowly. "Let's go home." They walked toward the SUV. Side by side. Peace settling around them like a warm blanket. The night no longer felt heavy. It felt earned. Morning arrived quietly. Not with bright sunlight, not with noise, but with a gentle gray sky and the soft patter of overnight drizzle finally fading away. Farhan stood at the kitchen counter, stirring a mug of warm tea. He could feel the tiredness in his bones, the kind that only comes after a night filled with adrenaline, worry, and deep relief. Behind him, Rex lay on his favorite rug near the back door. Not asleep. Not restless. Just watching. Calm eyes. Slow breathing. Ears slightly tilted whenever Farhan moved. "You didn't sleep much either, did you?" Farhan murmured. Rex blinked, a slow, knowing blink. Farhan smiled quietly and took a sip of tea. The house was calm. Soft. Still waking. A few hours had passed since they left the hospital, and though exhaustion tugged at Farhan's muscles, something warm held him steady. Gratitude. Pride. The quiet satisfaction of knowing the boy was safe. He lifted his phone and saw a new message from the hospital. "Parents arrived. Boy is stable, improving." He asked about the dog again. Farhan exhaled as though the message lifted a weight from his chest. Rex tilted his head, sensing the shift. "He's okay," Farhan said softly. "He's really okay." Rex stood, stretched slowly, back legs long, tail low, and walked over to deposit his head gently against Farhan's knee. A silent acknowledgement. A simple connection. Farhan set his tea down and knelt beside him. "You did more than anyone could have asked. You understand that, right?" Rex pressed closer. Warm. Present. Just being there. Later that morning, Farhan and Rex visited the station. Not for paperwork, though there would be plenty later, but simply to be seen, to be checked in on. The station door opened with its usual heavy thud. Inside, voices greeted them immediately. "There's our heroes." "Rex. Good boy." "Farhan, man, you two saved that kid." Farhan nodded, offering modest smiles. He never liked the spotlight. And Rex certainly didn't demand attention, but he accepted it with gentle manners, tail wagging just once, softly, whenever someone gave him a pat. Officer Miller approached with a warm grin. "Heard the boy's doing better." "He is," Farhan replied. "Stable. Talking. And yes, still asking about Rex." Miller chuckled. "Well, can't blame him." Rex sat by Farhan's side, gaze moving calmly across the room, taking in the familiar faces, the familiar sounds. But he was quieter than usual. Not tired, not withdrawn, just thoughtful. Miller leaned closer to Farhan and spoke in a softer tone. "He's been different lately. More tuned in." Farhan nodded. "Yeah, I've noticed." "You think something changed?" Farhan looked down at Rex. The dog looked back. Eyes warm, deep, holding something steady inside them. I don't know, Farhan said. But he's listening to the world in a different way. Miller patted Rex gently. Well, whatever it is, it's good. Farhan and Rex returned home by early afternoon. Clouds broke open just enough for thin sunlight to spill across the living room floor. Farhan set his jacket on the chair and sank into the couch. Rex hopped up beside him, slow, deliberate, and curled into the space between Farhan's side and the armrest. Farhan smiled. Comfortable. Rex rested his chin on Farhan's thigh. The quiet in the room felt healing. Minutes passed. Then Farhan lifted a pillow from beside him, the same one Rex guarded so fiercely the day before, and held it gently. He finally understood. You knew something was coming, he said softly. Not danger, not exactly, but you felt something wasn't right. Rex didn't move. Didn't need to. Farhan set the pillow down and placed his hand on Rex's back. You were trying to tell me, and I didn't listen at first. A tiny exhale came from the dog, almost like a sigh. You've always been intuitive. But yesterday, that was something deeper. Rex shifted closer, nudging Farhan's ribs with his nose. A simple reassurance. A soft "I'm here." Farhan's voice lowered. I promise. I'll pay better attention. You see things in a way humans don't. Rex's tail brushed against the couch cushion once. A quiet agreement. Later that evening, Farhan received another call from the hospital. It wasn't urgent. Just an update. The boy asked if he can see the dog again before discharge. The nurse said kindly. He said Rex made him feel safe. Farhan looked at Rex, who lifted his head as though he sensed he was being spoken about from miles away. We'll visit tomorrow, Farhan said. I think it'll do both of them good. After the call ended, Farhan leaned back and looked at the ceiling. The day had been long, gentle, healing. He turned to Rex. Tomorrow we finish this. Close the circle. Rex stepped off the couch and stretched, front paws long, shoulders dipping slow, and then sat in front of Farhan, watching him with warm, steady eyes. Farhan reached out and placed both hands around the dog's face. Thank you, he whispered. For everything. Rex leaned forward, touching his forehead lightly against Farhan's. A soft moment. A silent bond. Then Rex walked back to the couch, curled around the same pillow he had guarded so fiercely. Only now, he wasn't protecting it. He was resting on it. Peaceful. Calm. Content. Farhan watched him with a soft smile. The instincts that once signaled worry now signaled comfort. He didn't know how Rex sensed things. Didn't know why. Didn't know the way a dog's intuition reached places human logic couldn't. But he understood something now. Rex wasn't guarding a pillow. He was guarding a feeling. A space. A message. Connection. And Farhan could finally hear it. Morning sunlight eased through the curtains, gentle, quiet, as though the world itself wanted to speak softly today. Farhan slipped on his jacket while Rex waited patiently near the door, tail resting motionless on the floor. Not wagging. Not stiff. Just calm readiness. He knew where they were going. Farhan grabbed the leash, but when he clipped it on, he kept it loose, more symbolic than necessary. You ready to see him? He asked. Rex blinked once. A slow, warm blink. They stepped outside into mild morning air. The sky carried a soft golden haze. Birds murmured from rooftops. The drive to the hospital felt different this time. Not heavy. Not urgent. Just purposeful. Rex sat tall in the passenger seat, watching the world roll by houses, trees, the familiar turn toward the hospital district. Farhan glanced at him. You made a difference, he whispered. More than you'll ever understand. Rex held his gaze for a moment, then turned back to the window, calm, collected, steady. The hospital lobby was brighter during the day. Sunlight filtered through high windows, warming the tile floor. Families sat in clusters, talking quietly. Nurses moved with familiar morning rhythm. As soon as Rex stepped inside, a few people turned. Some smiled. Some whispered. Some simply softened, the way people do when they see a gentle dog walking with purpose. Farhan approached the reception desk. We're here to visit the boy from last night. The nurse recognized them immediately. Oh, he's been asking about you both all morning. Room 214. Go right in. Rex's ears perked slightly at the tone, hopeful, welcoming, and he followed Farhan down the hallway, pacing slow, nails clicking softly on the tile. The door to 214 was half open. Farhan knocked gently. Inside, the boy sat propped up in bed. Not pale anymore. Not frightened. Just small. And grateful. When he saw Rex, his entire face lit. Rex! The dog stepped forward, slow and controlled, as if he understood the space, the equipment, the delicacy of the moment. His tail tapped once. A soft thump against the side of Farhan's leg. The boy reached out with both hands this time. No shaking, no hesitation. Rex climbed onto his front paws on the mattress edge. Chest low, posture careful. He pressed his head into the boy's hands. The boy exhaled, long and relieved. Farhan stood at the bedside and watched. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. A nurse quietly entered the room, smiled at the scene, and whispered to Farhan. He slept better after hearing he would see the dog today. Farhan nodded softly. Rex shifted, placing his chin gently on the boy's blanket-covered legs. The boy ran his fingers through Rex's fur, slow and steady. You found me, the boy whispered, his voice small but clear. Rex looked up at him. Just looked. Eyes soft, deep, unblinking. Farhan finally spoke. He didn't want to stop searching until he sensed you were close. He followed something only he could feel. The boy leaned back against his pillow. What did he feel? Farhan shook his head gently. That's the thing. I'm not sure. Maybe fear. Maybe your heartbeat slowing. Maybe the world shifting in a way he understood and we didn't. He rested a hand on Rex's back. But whatever it was, it led us straight to you. The boy looked down at Rex again. Thank you, he whispered into the dog's fur. Soft. Sincere. Rex closed his eyes as if absorbing the words, as if letting them settle into his calm, steady heart. A few minutes later, the boy's parents arrived. Their eyes were red from worry and relief. They approached the bed slowly. The mother covered her mouth. The father placed a shaking hand on his son's shoulder. Thank you, the father said to Farhan. Emotion thick in his voice. Thank you for bringing him home. Farhan nodded gently, but he placed a hand on Rex's collar. He brought you home, he corrected. I just followed him. The parents looked at Rex, really looked, and their faces softened with something deeper than gratitude, something close to reverence. Rex lowered himself into a sit, posture straight, head slightly bowed, a quiet humility only a dog could have. The mother knelt beside him and stroked his fur. Bless you, she whispered. Rex leaned his head into her palm. After goodbyes were shared, Farhan and Rex stepped out of the room and walked down the hall. Sunlight spilled across the floor in long warm bands. Farhan felt something move gently inside him, a sense of completion, of understanding. He stopped near a window and looked out at the city waking beyond the glass. Rex stopped beside him, body close. You knew, Farhan said quietly. You felt something long before I did. Rex gazed up at him, not seeking approval, not demanding anything, just offering the same presence he had offered from the beginning. Farhan placed a hand on Rex's neck. I'm going to trust that instinct more from now on. You see the world in a way I never will. Rex leaned into his touch. Slow, steady, a bond reaffirmed. They stood there for a moment, man and dog sharing a quiet truth. Not dramatic, not loud, just real. Then Farhan took a breath and nodded toward the exit. Let's go home. Rex walked beside him, matching his steps effortlessly. They passed nurses, patients, families, each one softening as the pair moved through the hallway, a silent reminder of hope. Outside, the morning air felt richer, warmer, alive. Farhan unlocked the SUV and opened the passenger door. Rex paused for a moment, looked back at the hospital entrance, then climbed in, settling comfortably into his seat. Farhan got in beside him and rested his hand briefly on the dog's chest before starting the engine. "You did well," he whispered. "You did more than well." Rex blinked once, slow and content. The kind of blink that said, "I know, and I'd do it again." Farhan smiled, shifted the car into drive, and pulled away from the curb. Their day was peaceful now, their bond stronger than ever. And as they drove home under a brightening sky, Farhan felt it deep in his heart. Some stories begin with a dog guarding a pillow, but they end with a human finally understanding why.